I have no tattoos. I've never felt the need for one, but one day, a tattoo changed the way I perceive life. One of my best childhood friends, as he grew older, responded to the challenges he faced during our school years in a society obsessed with dictating how we should look, speak, and act. His response? He got his first and only tattoo, which reads, "Embrace your awkwardness." The moment I first saw it, these quotes resonated in the back of my mind as if it were waiting for the right moment to push me to act. These three words carry a bold message. In a world set by rigid standards and social media trends, embracing what makes you different from the crowd requires a great deal of courage. Yet, we are never taught how to do this, are we? Immanuel Kant believed individuals are shaped by institutions such as family, school, church, and the state. With the boom of capitalism, one of these main institutions, the school, began to focus primarily on producing workers for the market. So, what happened to its crucial role in shaping critical thinking citizens? As a result, we spend our lives reproducing a standardized idea of success. Only one path, one lifestyle for billions of people. Most of us chase a single version of success before we even know who you are or what you truly want. It takes years to realize that this narrative is a big lie. Like many of you, I grew up doing what was expected, or what I believed others expected from me. I always studied hard to be the best in my class, then went to law school and became a corporate lawyer. More specifically in the field of mergers and acquisitions, with focus on Brazil-China relations. A decade later, I had built a successful career, but I knew I was far from reaching the full potential of my happiness. How can someone feel successful without feeling happy? I remember spending my days locked in cold offices under artificial lights while the sunlight warmed the stunning landscapes below. Views I could only admire from the heights of those buildings, those breathtaking beaches and bays of my hometown, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, were right there, so close to see, yet so far to experience. Pinned to my boards was a phrase: around 8 billion people experience today in a different way. I would look at my computer screen and be haunted by the idea that while I was sitting at my desk, someone else, at the very moment, was out there living and doing incredible things. Whether climbing Everest, finding a cure for cancer, or doing anything else that reminded them they were alive. You know, I went to law school to help people, but I found myself living a life where I couldn't even help myself. I worked endless hours to feed the egos of powerful men who found joy in undermining their employees. And please don't get me wrong here. I learned a lot and even made some good friends for life, but I also saw injustices silenced and health sacrificed, mine included. Then I realized it wasn't my job to change those kinds of places. I needed to find an environment where I could thrive, because fitting in doesn't mean belonging. This was my wake-up call to question everything I thought I knew about success. Since then, I have focused my decisions on what success means to me and no one else. I've drastically changed my priorities, reinventing myself and my lifestyle. So, it was 2020. I had my bags packed to move to China and begin my PhD at my dream Peking University. Who here doesn't remember what happened that year? Yes, the pandemic hit. I had quit my job, ended a long-term relationship, and given up my apartment, but I couldn't leave, not yet. Then, things got worse. While waiting lockdown, I got COVID. I nearly died, and due to complications, I spent 6 months bedridden, in pain, struggling to breathe. For someone as active as I'd been, it was terrifying. Months later, a friend asked me, "Taís, were you afraid of dying?" I said no. I was afraid of not living. I realized I had spent years in survival mode, burdened by societal expectations. My bad wasn't physical. It was the weight of demands I had let define me. As soon as I began to heal, I bought a one-way ticket and solo travel for 183 days through 13 countries and almost 40 cities. It was my first long solo trip, though I was never truly alone, either meeting old friends or making new ones. I rode a hot air balloon in Turkey, meditated watching sunsets in Greece, hugged trees with Russian friends I met in Albania, and danced at parties in Montenegro with Valerie, a 7-year-old Irish woman who is the freest soul I've ever met. I allowed myself to live a love story, one with myself. For the first time, the journey was about me. Have you ever met those free-spirited people who inspire us to break our chains and never look back? I discovered the world is full of them. More than I had ever imagined during my 30 years of following rules and ticking society's boxes. After this sabbatical, I founded my own company, led projects focused on gender equality and education, and finally moved to China. I even joined my university's Dragon Boat Club. Yes, this is me. And guess what? These decisions, which brought me the most joy and fulfillment, also received the most criticism. Very different from the approval I received when I followed the safe, traditional path. Anyway, I realized I was finally living the life I had dreamed of as a child. It seems we are born with a clear sense of our calling, but adulthood often pulls us away from it. There's an old proverb, "When death finds you, may it find you alive." In this rat race, how many of us will realize too late that we are meant to live for ourselves, not for others? The meaning of success should be understood as deeply personal. We may follow the same rules, share the same spaces, and breathe the same air. But we don't dream the same dreams or share the same ambitions or talents. Our individuality, our desires, inspirations, and potential makes us unique. Some are analytical, others artistic, social, or introspective, or all of the above. And that is fine, because this diversity fuels innovation, progress, and equality. Beyond our individuality, I also believe we should be free to live multiple lives within one lifetime. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, said, "No man steps into the same river twice." It means that life is about constant change. My values remain, but what success meant to me in my 20s is no longer what I envision now in my 30s, and it will likely change again in my 40s, and so on. This is living, growing, evolving. But the meaning of success changes not only from person to person or depending on our stage in life. If you look back at the origin of the word success in Latin, it simply meant outcome, which could be either positive or negative. It was only during the Renaissance and its focus on individual achievement that this word began to carry a positive connotation. Later on, with the Industrial Revolution, the rise of capitalism, and its focus on productivity and competitiveness, the term became solidified as a synonym for positive accomplishment. Do you realize the power, the meaning society assigns to words have over our lives? Saying that, what if you taught future generations that success can take many forms? Would we create a society with fewer people feeling like failures, or if they do fail? Because failure is part of life, right? Will they still feel like they have failed in choosing the path that gives their life meaning? What if we taught people to build their own definition of success and happiness? Imagine a world where people feel free to follow their intuition and choose the paths that align with their talents, dreams, and values. To live fully is to embrace your awkwardness and your freedom to decide what success means to you. Revisiting and redefining this idea at every stage of your life. I hope that each person here today takes the time to reflect on what success means to you, and that when that finds you, may it find you alive. Thank you.